Hi everybody! In this demo I am going to show you how I made this folder to store my stickers in. It's using a mirror feature in the silhouette design, and I designed these truck pockets to hold my stickers in it. So you may have to trim some of this. You'll see on my original one I did have to trim some of it, but I'll show you in the actual design where you won't have to do that. So this is just made out of cardstock paper that I printed, and I laminated it, and I just adhered the pockets on, and then used that technique that Christy showed us to slice around the laminated pocket, and it'll create that insert area where you can put your stickers on. So all you need is patterned paper. I printed the digital papers onto the Canon matte papers and then cut them down to a size for my folder. I think I used like a 5x7, but you would need two pieces so that you could place them in the lamination sheet with a slight space in between the two. Okay, so now we're going to adhere our pocket on. You just want to take some adhesive to the outer edges, just the left, right, and bottom sides of the pocket. I'm just using some Tombow two-way adhesive tape. You could use score tape, you could use liquid adhesive, just as long as you're just getting the edges. You can even use washi. And I'm not worried too much about securing it too well because the lamination will hold it in tightly. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab, because this was printed on that Canon matte photo paper, it is one-sided. So I'm getting another sheet that I printed from the digital kit, and I'm going to just trim it down. I don't use exact measurements. I was trying to keep this, and I usually try to keep my projects, as easy and simple and stress-free as possible. So I'm going to trim this down. After I trim it down, I am going to use the Tombow adhesive tape again and adhere it down. Now, if you wanted to round the corners, you could. I just choose not to. I will round it on the lamination side though. So I'm adhering it just on the, you can adhere it on the sides, in the middle. It really doesn't matter. As long as you have, I'll show you, the pocket needs to make sure that that's not adhered, because you do want to slice that. So here I'm just going to trim a little bit of the white on the bottom of this pocket, and you'll see later on when we're designing in the Silhouette Studio I will fix that, so I won't have to do that. And also the tree, so I won't have to trim off the tree. So just secure that on there, and we're going to go to the second one and just repeat the process of adhering it down on the three sides. Make sure you do not adhere on the top. So just adhering it on the sides and on the bottom, and then I will place it on the back of the right side of the paper, so the back side of this sheet. And then I'm going to get a scratch piece of paper, not a scratch, I'm sorry. I'm going to get, again, there's that white line. And I believe this white line was because of the offset, so I'm not sure if I actually corrected that in the digital now that I think about it, when we design in Silhouette. But you can trim it. Maybe it won't bother you. I think it was bothering me in here. So let's adhere a patterned piece of paper behind there. And just repeat the process. And I do believe on this one I am going to adhere it a little bit better, just to show you that it won't matter. So let's line that up, trim off the edges, and then we will secure it down. This is a very quick and easy way. You don't have to use a silhouette pocket either. You could just make it you could make it into just a rectangle. You could do a scallop shape. It's whatever you want. I just wanted to show you that you can design something in Silhouette just to add a little extra. Now that you have your 2 sheets of pockets, we are going to line them up on the lamination sheet, but making sure we leave a space in between. I am using a 3mm 8.5 by 11 lamination sheet. I find that the 3mm is much easier to fold and cut, so I'm not forcing my cutting blade too hard and actually slicing through the pockets. So I'm just going to line this up and then run it through the lamination sheet, just making sure that I have a space in between so that I can fold it over or fold it in half. Okay, let's run this through the lamination machine. The next step would be to create this pocket with an X-Acto knife. So let's fold this in half after laminating it. And we are going to trim around the edges, but don't trim too close to it because you don't want the papers to separate. So I'm just going to cut around all the 4 corners of this. And you can also round the edges. I normally round the edges on the lamination sheet. You can also round the edges on the actual cardstock or pattern paper before you laminate it. So after we have all 4 of the edges cut, then I am going to show you how to create the pockets. Let's zoom this up. Right now, the pockets are sealed to the lamination sheet, but I am going to use this X-Acto knife to trim around the truck to create the pocket. Now make sure that you have a self-healing mat if you're worried about cutting below your surface, just in case you cut all the way through the paper, but you should be using just a very, very light pressure so you don't have to worry about cutting through or damaging the surface below it. But if it's your first time, maybe you want to practice on a scratch laminated sheet. And I am going to go to the edge, and there you go. Sometimes I will use the knife to try to lift up an area to for the pocket, but let's trace this side too. And sometimes I'm not the best at cutting this, and I will kind of make a mistake and go further up. I don't worry about that. I'll just trim that extra lamination part over it, and since it's a pocket and I will be sliding something in behind it, you won't be able to tell on the pattern paper. So there, let's cut at the edge, making sure to stay away from the middle, and there I'm going to use it to kind of lift it up, the knife. See, there's your pocket. That's all there is to it. And then you can get some stickers, you can put die cuts, you can put a notepad, you can put anything you want in here, and then I slide this into my TN, and that's what I use it for. There's a note card, notepad, or note cards. A lot of different ways you can use this. So I hope that helped. I get a lot of questions on how I made that, so it is very easy. Also, if you want to take the middle section of the folder and kind of cut a little section off of it, I think that's called miter, then it'll sit in your TN a little bit better. So now let's do like a double-sided magnet, two-sided magnet, which you could also do in a paper clip, or it's both using the mirror image. This is just like a page marker or notepad. You could put sticky notes on it. So because I've created the mirror image of this one design, I can adhere them back to back. So I'm just going to apply some of my adhesive to it again. And this I do want to make sure that it's a little more secured. And you can use the red sticky tape, you can use the score tape. Wet glue I would not use because you will be able to see the lines through your project. Or you could use a glue stick. The next step would be to line up the edges. and make sure that you secure it on, and we can move on to another project. Next, we'll work on the paper clips or the magnets. For this tutorial, I'm going to do the magnets. But you see here, I will show you these two are identical. I did not use the mirror effect. So when I try to line them back to back, they're not going to line up perfectly, which if you're okay with that, that's fine. But if you take the extra step in the silhouette design and make a mirror image, they're not lining up, but when you use them back to back, they will line up perfectly. So let's create the magnet. Now you again need a lamination sheet, and for these I like to use a 3mm, but maybe for the paper clip I like to use a 5mm, so because it stands better with the wear and tear or the abuse that you might put your planner through, which I do. Okay, so now you're going to want to line them up, and just to let you know that I actually did not line this up correctly, so when I cut it later on in the video, you'll see that I should have lined them up better. And to test if I have lined them up, I just kind of gently fold them over. And I won't create a crease, but I'll just kind of see if I've lined it up. And it does look like I lined it up correctly, but for some reason, I don't know what I did. When I go to cut it, I'll realize that I probably should have done a better job. So this is the note card that we had adhered, the mirrored note card back to back, and I am going to run this through the lamination sheet. And I'm probably going to move this a little further out just to give me extra room to fussy cut around. Okay, so let's load this up carefully in the laminator. Another option for a smaller project like a magnet or a paperclip would be to use either a 4x6 or 5x7 lamination sheet, and I do believe these are 5mm, so I think they work better for paperclips. Once it comes out of the laminator, I did separate the magnets from the note card, and I'll probably run them both through the laminator machine once again just to make sure it adheres a little bit closer. The lamination, I'm going to try to get it. There's some bubbles in here, so I'm going to run it through my laminator just a few more times. When I'm satisfied, I will just fold it in half, preferably when it's still warm to touch. And I'm going to crease it with my fingernails. You can use a bone folder, or maybe the edge of or the back of your scissors would work. So what I'm going to want to do now is to cut, but I'm not going to want to cut where they meet, or because I need it to still stay attached. So I'm going to show you, let me get my scissors, or let me show you an example first. Do you see right at the tips over there? They're still connected. So take your scissors and just cut. I'm going to cut the inside, the middle first. And I would be careful. And now this is where I'm going to leave. I'm going to skip a section so that the magnets will still stay adhered or connected at the top. And I'm just going to fussy cut around it. You can choose to fussy cut it sealed together, or you could separate them. It won't matter because once they're on the sheet, they're going to be on two separate pages, so you're not going to really be able to see it. Maybe more so for a paper clip, but not for a magnet. So let's speed up this process too. Okay, these magnet strips I got from Walmart, and I think they're about maybe a little under $3, but they're already separated into strips, not separated, but slightly cut into strips, and if you fold them back and forth, they'll separate. So I'm going to take and cut a strip, the length, desired length, which that looks good, and I'm going to then take the magnet, adhere it to the other longer strip, and then trim it so that I have two almost the same length, almost identical. And I'm going to place one side down first, make sure it's secured, remove the adhesive backing and secure it on. There's your magnet. That's it. That's all I do. Easy, right? So you can do this with bows, you can do it with floral, you can do it with the girl. So many possibilities. And for this page marker, all you do is fussy cut around and just make sure you leave just a slight border around it and you're done. So as I showed you in the real life demo, we're going to turn these into pockets. So we're going to design them into pockets for your folder so you can slide your stickers behind here after you've laminated them and cut around it. So the first thing you want to do is grab the not the line tool, what is this? Drawing tools. And you can either select a square rectangle or the rounded edge rectangle. I chose to do the rounded edge rectangle, and I believe I made this about a 3.2 by a little under 5. Oops, see, you need to always remember to switch your drawing tool into a selection tool. I can just delete that or hit undo. So let's see, this looks okay, and let's make this maybe a little bit wider. And you can pull it from the left or top now because you don't have a pattern in there, so it's not going to distort anything. So this looks about right. Yes. So it just depends on what size you want your pockets to be or your folder, so you'd customize it to that. Because I'm making it for a B6, I know that I want the width to be under 5. So yeah, that's good. Okay, so now let's change the line, let's change the line color, sorry. Let's change the line color. And then we can duplicate it. Because we want 2 pockets, so we can leave that there. Pull this down a little bit. And I do like to leave the line style open so I can see which layers I am selecting. So I'll pull that box here. Let's go and get our pattern paper. I do want the sweater right there, the sweater pattern. So just drag that and drop that into your box. That's good. Now let's get the tree. And if you would like to, sorry if the dog is barking in the background. Okay, so now if you would like to customize your background, you can select the fill pattern option right here, fill panel, and it would be under the 3rd option with the polka dots. You can change, and if those additional options don't show up, just click down advanced options and you'll get more options. So you can change the transparency, you can change the angle if you wanted your trees to be at an angle, which I do not. I'll change that back to 0. If you want to make the trees larger, I do not. So I'm going to put that back to 100. But if you wanted to pan the pattern, I could do that. But I'm good where it is. Okay? So let's close that out. Now let's get the truck icon. This is actually a very easy project. So let's go up to icons, truck. The first truck, and the reason why I chose the truck is because of the width of it, and I thought it would be perfect for the pockets. You could also use like a floral, but I love the trucks. I just thought they were so cute that I thought they were made for pockets. So just remember, don't override your projects. So I'm going to put the truck here. So the easiest way that I can think of to explain to do this is just to, you can, if you wanted to, you could go into this transform panel and actually select this to be the same width as this. but for me it's easy enough to pull from the corners, any of the four corners, to size it for here. But if when you pull your project in, it's going behind the layer, your truck is going behind your background, all you need to do is right click and bring it to the front. So let's just lay this. And what I try to do, I'll zoom in, is to line up the headlight to be at the edge here. I think I had the headlight just peeking up. Do you see that? Where this corner is the top. Just for the shape. Okay, and then I will just pull it in from this side and try to flush the truck to the edge here. Do you see that? That's good enough for me. And the tree may slightly, I think in my demo I did not do this and I had a little bit of it hanging off, so some of it I needed to cut off, which is fine with me, so it's up to you. Okay, so then you just group it. Actually, I do see a little bit of white down there, so I am going to fix that. Let's pan that up. Oops, need to be in the fill pattern. Select the pan, or actually I'll pan it down there. I just saw a white space on the bottom, so I wanted to fill that up. Okay, so now let's group this. And grouping it, I am just dragging my mouse over the two images, right click, select group. Let's work on the red truck. Oh, I did something wrong here. Ungroup. I forgot that I need to flip this. As easy as that. And then I'll just pull this back down here. The reason why I need to flip it, let me group this first. Oops. The reason why you need to flip it, or you don't have to if you don't want, but the pockets are going to face this way and it's going to open, so I need this to be, to me they just look better if the vehicles are facing each other, but you could have it where the two cars are facing like that in your folder. Again, all about preference. So let's place this truck on here. We can move her off for now. Zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. We need to make this much smaller. Okay. So you can see this is touching here. This is just at the tip of the top of the square, the pattern square. This is right at the edge, so I'm happy with that. So now let's group it. Oops. Remember your best friend, the undo. Zoom out. Okay. And right click, group. Okay. So all you need to do now is make the trace line. So we're going to open up the trace panel, select trace, highlight your area, make sure you're highlighting over your entire image. We'll bump up the threshold to 100. Looks good. Trace outer edge. Need to change this red cut line, unless you want it to cut exactly like this. Actually, will that be what I want? That's not what I did on that one. Okay, so let's change that to a blue line. So you could have this trace very closely. You're still going to get some whites like right here, so it's not going to be a very clean cut. But if that's okay with you, then that's fine. Let's change this. Select the red box. There. Selected. Change that to a blue line. And then open your offset panel. Offset. And the offset I would probably do 0 to 5 so that it's very close. And I will change that to red. Now do you see this right here? That I can easily fix. Eraser tool, or you can just have it cut. It's not going to affect your project. And I'm just going to zap it. And it's gone. Easy peasy. And then don't forget to group it. Make sure you go back to your arrow for the selection tool. Highlight all your layers and group. Now we can move this vehicle off to the side while we grab the other truck and just repeat the process. Offset, the trace, threshold at 100, trace outer edge, change your line to from the red to the blue. Then we want to select the offset, but I'm going to zoom out first so that you can see. Offset, change that to 0.025. Click apply, change that to red. Let's zoom back in, and again we have a little bit of noise right there. So you can take your eraser tool, I believe it's called an eraser, yes, eraser tool, and just zap it. And you can change the size of the eraser tool. That's too large. You can change it up here. Let's go back down. You can just keep zapping it if it's not the right size. There. But again, you can leave that there and it will not affect your project. Just one more feature that the Silhouette Studio has to offer. Let's zoom back out, highlight, and group. That's it. So now what I would do is try to position, if I believe you can fit two on one. Pretty sure that's what I did. So I'm going to place this one down here. So I try to be careful what I place near this registration mark. No, that one seems to be the main registration mark where all the data on how to cut the file is being stored. Yep, right there. So you can fit both of them, two on a page. Raise this up a bit. And you can go into this gray shaded area. If you're having trouble printing then or cutting, then maybe you want to stay away from that. But I have gone up there without problems. So you can leave it like that. Okay, and then let's check our cut lines. We'll go to send. Remember to change to line color. It's set to line color. Now if we highlight the blue, we do not want it to cut like this. These are all your trace lines. The blue, all of these are your trace lines. So let's unselect the blue, only select the red, and if you're doing this out of cardstock, then for me, I did this out of cardstock. I did a full cut, and these are my settings for the full cut. Blade at 4, speed at 3, force at 33, and I do have it go through, so passes means it's going to cut once, that's one pass, and cut twice, that's two passes. If you're new with your Silhouette or working with a Silhouette, you can change, you can input these numbers and maybe adjust it from there. These numbers may not work for your Silhouette, they work for mine. They work for my portrait and my Cameo 3, but my original Cameo, they're completely different. So then, now that I can tell that my cut settings are okay, I will go to File, Print, and then print that out. And then once it prints, load it onto your cutting mat, and then select Send here. And it's saying could not connect, but that's because I don't have my Cameo set up to my computer at this time. So that's that project. Let's go back into design. If you did see that you did make a mistake somewhere on here, just click design, ungroup your project, and try to correct where you went wrong. Sometimes I do have to start from scratch, but that's okay. You'll learn every time you're working with something. So let's say you did your trace and cut lines for these on another project. You could easily just copy and paste it into another page and do this mirror, use this mirror feature to create paper clips or magnets. Or you can just go to your icons, drag in the bow, do the trace line. So you could drag in the bow, drag and drop it. Do the trace line, use your trace feature, change the color, do your offset, do all of the steps that we've done for this to create into a cut line. But these are already created, and I will show you how you can do this. So select your icon with the trace and cut lines, and we're going to select the replicate panel. And down here you'll see replicate and it says mirror. So you can mirror up, down, left, up, down, up, left, or right. It doesn't matter for this because you're going to cut them out separately. So just make sure that they are not touching. If you want them to touch, for certain projects you may. For mine, I do not. I want them to cut out separately. We'll do that for the paper clip. And maybe this one will. It does not matter again. And then let's get the floral. Floral and make sure it's selected. There we go. Now it is a game again of Tetris to get this to fit. You can use your rotation tool. Because the main thing is that you have your mirrored image, so it really doesn't matter on where you place them or even if you spin them around because they're going to die cut into individual pieces. So let's just try to fit them in. There we go. And there, you'll have all your pieces to make a bow paper clip or magnet, a flower paper clip or magnet, and a bow clip magnet or paper clip. So for this, you do the steps again. Just make sure that your cut files are selected correctly. We want red. I'll do full cut. Now if you wanted to make these into stickers for whatever reason, just change your material. I have it as Portrait Sticker Kiss. So we'll click File and then Print. Once it prints, load it on your cutting mat, load it into your silhouette machine, and then hit send. That's all it is. I think this is one of the easier projects to do, and it's but it adds so much by doing these pockets. The bow paper clips or magnets are very simple. So I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in some other tutorials. Thank you.